This demo shows you how to configure the SAP Business ByDesign solution to meet your company's business requirements. SAP Business ByDesign enables you to quickly set up the solution to meet the specific requirements of your company. It also allows you to adapt and improve your solution at any time as your needs change. To configure SAP Business ByDesign, go to the Business Configuration Work Center and select the Implementation Projects view. In your first implementation project, you define the initial scope of your solution and then perform project management and implementation activities to get the solution up and running. Select the first implementation project and click Edit Project Scope. At any step of the guided activity, if you need to pause or postpone the process, you can click Save Draft. The decisions you have made are saved and you can resume your work later on. On the country and type of business step of the guided activity, review the countries and types of business for your solution. Based on best practices for the types of business, the system pre-selects relevant scoping elements. To update the countries where you will run the solution, choose Edit Countries. To update the types of business for which you want to run the solution, choose Edit Types of Business. Click Next to continue. On the implementation focus step of the guided activity, you can decide whether you want to implement capabilities from the complete SAP Business Design solution or only from part of the solution. Here, the implementation focus complete solution has already been selected. Click Next to continue. In the scoping step of the guided activity, the solution capabilities are structured as a hierarchy of scoping elements. Click Actions and then Expand All to display all business areas, business packages, and business topics in the hierarchy. Business areas contain business packages, and business packages contain business topics. The system has pre-selected the relevant scoping elements based on best practices for your type of business. Review each scoping element and either accept or adjust the pre-selected elements in the Select column to decide what you want to incorporate into your solution. Certain elements are mandatory for your scope and cannot be deselected. The checkboxes of these elements are selected and grayed out in the Select column. Also, you cannot select or deselect a business area directly. A business area is selected automatically if one or more of its business packages are selected. The hierarchy has built-in rules to ensure that all selections you make are logical and consistent from a business and technical point of view. So when you make a selection, the system makes the necessary additional selections automatically. Also, when you make a selection that goes against the rules, a warning icon is displayed in the Conflict column next to each affected scoping element. To quickly identify all elements with conflicts, you can select Elements with Conflicts from the Show list, which is not displayed here. For guidance on how to resolve the issue, you can select an element and review its Dependency tab. The information on the Dependency tab changes based on the state of the scoping element in focus. If the element is free for selection, the tab lists a simulation of the system selections that would result from its selection. If the element is not free for selection, the tab lists the elements that caused its current selection or deselection. If the element is in conflict with other selections, the tab lists these selections so that you can decide which ones to reverse. As you move through the scoping elements in the hierarchy, use the Overview and Relevance tabs to view information on the purpose and context of each scoping element. For each business area at the highest level of the hierarchy, you can also review the particular benefits the business area offers on the Benefits tab. To add notes or additional requirements for a scoping element, use the Your Notes tab. All notes and requirements are summarized in reports available in the Review step of the guided activity. Once you've reviewed each scoping element, click Next. In the Questions step of the guided activity, answer the scoping questions to make more detailed decisions about the capabilities you want in your solution. Click Actions and then Expand All to display all business areas, business packages, and business topics in the hierarchy. You will find scoping questions at the business topic level. The system has pre-selected answers based on best practices for your type of business. You can accept these recommendations or, where possible, you can adjust the pre-selected answers. Some answers are mandatory for your scope and cannot be changed. Each question initially displays the Not Reviewed status. When you change an answer, the status of the question group is automatically changed to Reviewed. To learn more about a question, review the information on the Overview, Relevance, and Dependency tabs. Once you've reviewed all relevant scoping questions, click Next to continue. On the Review step of the guided activity, review your scoping results and provide additional information about your first implementation project. Under Scoping Results, click the links provided to view the results of your scoping decisions. Under General Information, enter the title and description for your first implementation project. Under Planned Implementation Timeline, select the appropriate start date and end date for your first implementation project. Click Finish to complete the scoping process for your first implementation project. Click Close to return to the implementation projects view. You can also return to this guided activity and make changes to the scope of your first implementation project at a later time. To do this, select the first implementation project on the Implementation Projects view and click Edit Project Scope again.